Oh no, I forgot where to title. Yeah. You sure?
Oh, there it went again. It disappeared for a moment.
There it goes.
There we go.
Away with our title. Everyone already knows they are watching Modern Art Blitz. Live at 5 Pacific. We doing good? Oh, yikes, my microphone is all messed up. We can't have that now. Hi, welcome to Modern Art Blitz. I'm your host, Mat Gleason. On this show, we talk about blitzing modern art. My co-host, of course, is the one, the only, and the quite beautiful Lisa Derrick.
Hi. Hi, Matt.
How you doing, Lisa?
Good. It's been an interesting week, hasn't it?
Well, you know, this was usually we do our news segment now, but there was really only one news story as far as culture was concerned, and that was the passing last Sunday of the great, never to be repeated, David Bowie.
He was more than a prolific musician. He literally became a god. He's a living, well, now he's not living, but he was a rock god in the purest, truest sense, and he's transcended. And a black star is it's when a star dies and it falls in on itself and it waits until the galaxy is ready for it to transform into another type of being. So that's kind of heavy that's his, he knew what was going on.
I flunked physics, but because of Lisa, I now understand the way gravity works.
And Bowie was himself a painter.
Yes, he painted a lot, especially in the 90s, as after he had kind of, he had climaxed as far as rock and roll, you know, what else was there to do?
But luckily he was good at it. He'd gone to art school, so he knew what was up. And it was art school in the late 60s and early 70s, which is very different from art school now.
Oh, yeah. You know, and of course, we have to mention that he subscribed to Coagula Art Journal.
Yes, he did, for a number of years. And he wrote a review of your first book.
Pat myself on the back there.
But you didn't know it was him for a long time.
I have to pat myself on the back. Yes, I had a subscriber named David Jones, and we would send Coagula Art Journal to David Jones at Isolar, was the company in New York. And for years, very loyal subscriber. And then it turned out he was David Jones. In the 1960s, David Jones was advised to change your name because that guy from the Monkees, Davy Jones, he's going to be around a while. So David Jones
became David Bowie, and then he became a subscriber to Coagula.
Yeah.
His art is part of the David Bowie Is touring museum show. It was in Chicago, and right now it's in the Netherlands. And this is how powerful David Bowie is. After his death, the museum, which is normally closed on Mondays, opened on Mondays so that they can get more people in to see it. There was such a high demand.
Oh, wow.
That's power.
I'd actually be curious what the attendance figure was 5 days prior.
Yeah, that would be.
That's always the thing, because of course when a great star dies, everybody has a memorials. Bowie's career had peaks and valleys. In the last couple of years, he was a bit more of a solitary figure. Didn't tour, but he still released albums of hit and miss quality or interest. But certainly his legacy, just in rock and roll alone. After the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Elvis Presley, you could argue that David Bowie was the fourth most important figure in the history of rock and roll.
And so, in pop culture, I think he's probably modern pop culture, beginning when the Beatles broke up and Vietnam ended.
Well, I think everything. I tend to go post-war, so you'll always have you could look at Chuck Berry. Right. As having the influence on everything and that Bowie had after 1970. Right. Basically that sort of everything you see and hear, there's a little drop of him in it.
And Bowie also used little drops of other things. He referenced Chris Burden in one of his songs, Joe the Lion. He says, nail yourself to a car, I'll nail myself to a car and tell you who you are.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite Bowie song?
I don't have a favorite, but I am getting...
Name a Bowie song that comes to mind when I say what's your favorite Bowie song.
Diamond Dogs and Prettiest Star.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, my favorite was actually he had an album in 1980 called Scary Monsters, a bit overlooked album in his oeuvre, but I think it was a masterpiece, is on par with everything he ever did. And he had a song on that called Fashion that was
I loved Fashion.
Yeah,
that's a great song.
Like, as great a song. So yeah, we usually talk about art news, but you know,
it is art news because his art is being displayed, and he was a major art collector.
Oh, big time collector, big time supporter of the arts, and you know, I mean, what can you say? It was David Bowie. If he had never gone into an art gallery or art museum, he still had more of an impact on the way the world looks now than almost any artist you could imagine, but perhaps maybe than anyone, I don't know.
He had Tintorettos, he had Rubens, and he painted with Damien Hirst. He did a Damien Hirst spin painting.
Well, nobody's perfect.
No, but what I found most interesting is he bought a painting by the Scottish painter Peter Howson called Croatian and Muslim, and it had been commissioned by the Imperial War Museum in London, but when they saw the shocking image of two Croatian soldiers raping a Muslim woman while shoving her head in a toilet, they wouldn't show it. So Bowie stepped in and bought it, and he...
there go the ratings, David.
Yeah, exactly. He said that he preferred to collect art that was something that typified a certain decade or something that was an important or interesting departure.
Well, someone did their homework this week.
Yes, I did. And I really think this is something that he said about art that works for both of the artists we're going to have on today as guests. Bowie said that art should be open enough for me to develop my own dialogue with it.
Wow.
And I think our guests today...
Well, what a perfect segue.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce our first guest of the day. On this show, we talk to artists that are interesting, not boring bullshit artists. We talk to interesting artists. And the proof is in the pudding. You'll see the images soon. Let's welcome our first guest. She's an artist of black and white. Leslie Lanxinger. Where's that applause track? You're supposed to applaud. Welcome to Modern Art Blitz.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
So tell us now if you are. Hey, we're supposed to have your art behind us. We still have our
You're in
freeway
control
scene.
in that.
Yep. The intermission warning. Shouldn't it be for every camera? Oh, sorry.
There we
Sorry.
go. That's
Okay.
beautiful. We did. I remember where I saw your art and met you the first time. It was at Curators College, which Matt taught.
Oh,
It was the studio
you came
visit.
to my studio.
Yeah. And then Matt later had you in the LA Women's Show in Miami.
Yes.
Something and that was at Miami 2014, and from Miami 2015, that became the whole show of women was put on because of your influence, Matt. You brought it.
Sorry, I was taking my clothes off.
That's, I'm glad you're doing that because normally people want me to. So I.
Yes, the only reason I'm taking my clothes off is because nobody asked.
and we're talking about women
Yeah.
artists.
So you were featured. I featured you as a curator in a show we did at one of the art fairs in Miami at the Aqua Art Fair in 2014. And yeah, there were a lot more women-oriented shows. We had a show called LA Women, and you were in that. And the drawing you did at that time was of Courtney Love, I recall.
You had
What
two of
is
them,
this
didn't you?
drawing
Yes.
here? It's graphite, right?
It's charcoal. This is Betty Page.
I was going to say it must be Betty Page.
Ah, okay,
Beautiful.
great. And so do you normally use women as a subject?
I use women as a subject probably a lot more than men. It's funny, when I do monsters and animals, I sort of identify them as male, and then when I do women, I identify them as female. I don't know if that's sexist or not.
That's sexist. I'm sorry. That's sexist.
That's just me. I don't know.
But it's no different from male artists who might do women as mermaids or something cats. I'm looking over at our next guest. And, then have human figures being male. So it's not necessarily sexist, it's just how we run things through filters.
Yeah, I mean, you should work with what you know and what you don't know.
So you know those monsters men?
Oh shit, no.
We're going to get her into trouble. Fear not. It's a long interview. Where were you on the night of April 4th? No,
Yeah.
okay.
I know it is kind of third-degree light in here. So when did you start working only in black and white?
Actually, shortly before you visited my studio, and I think it was at the end of 2013 when I started working in black and white. And yeah, before that, I started as a painter, and then I just kept wanting to simplify my ideas, and so one of the best ways to do that for me was to simplify my medium. So I went to pencil, and I was doing just pencil for a long time, and then I started doing mixed media, and then I just wanted a complete and utter departure, and charcoal was a medium that I didn't really feel like I had as much control over, and that was a huge moment for me, was relinquishing some of the control and then seeing where that went.
And how do you mean you felt like you didn't have control over the charcoal? Is it, I've never worked with charcoal, so is it just the pressure and...
It's disgusting. It's like, it's a horrible, disgusting medium. I have to build an entire tent in my studio to keep the charcoal dust from going everywhere. So I do this like Dexter kill room, and inside there I work the charcoal, and I wear gloves, and I wear like 2 respirators and a flight suit, and I look like a chimney sweep.
And do you lay on or do you lift off or both?
Both. It's like very aggressive. It's very like cavalier, and I get in there and it's just, yeah.
And
where were you born?
Oh, well, where was I born? I was born in California, actually.
Really?
And then I moved. I've been everywhere, man.
I've been. Oh, I don't want to have to pay royalties to Johnny Cash's estate.
And now you're at the brewery.
Now I'm at the brewery. Yeah.
You're at the brewery in Lincoln Heights, near downtown Los Angeles. So, are you now? Where did you go to? Did you go to art school?
Yes, I went to the Atlanta College of Art for my undergrad, and I grew up in Georgia mostly. And Atlanta College of Art does not exist anymore. Now it's SCAD. It got swallowed up.
Savannah College of Art and Design.
Savannah College of Art and Design. Yeah. And then for graduate school, I moved to New York and went to SVA, School of Visual Arts.
And how was that?
You know, it's a great program. I know that there's like a sort of an anti-MFA vibe, but I think it was awesome. Like,
did the, how do I say this? Did the pretension of a lot of the theory people sort of be balanced out with some actual stuff that you learned?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much what you learned as art making. It was what you learned about the art world and who you got to talk to. You know, I got to talk to like Tom Sachs. I got to talk to Mariko Mori. I got to talk to.
What's Mariko Mori like?
She's very polite.
Really?
And very beautiful and very small and like very quiet.
Hey, wait, there's color in this work.
Wait.
I thought you were a black and white artist.
It's against a piece of wood.
It's the background. This is a sculpture.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was quite worried there for a minute.
Yeah, so it was like you got introduced to so many interesting people, and you learned what the art world really was, and to me, I feel like pretension is not something that just institutionalized, educated people have in the art world. Like pretension and art go hand in hand, whether you just like fell off the turnip truck or whether you have like a PhD. So that's what I found.
But you're very unpretentious.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Give me time. No. Yeah. But, you know, yeah, I found the people, that was kind of, I went away from the traditional art world for a lot of years, and I started doing these kind of like art events and art parties and stuff. But I found out that those people were just as big assholes as the people in the art world, but they just didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't know who they were ripping off. They were ignorant, but they still had the ego. So it wasn't like...
What do you do with all the ego in the art world? I mean, is there somewhere we could just take it and just dump it?
I think we just hide from it in our studio.
Is there an incinerator for ego somewhere? Anybody? The guy who invents that is gonna...
But without ego and a certain amount of narcissism, we wouldn't have the creative drive. That creative drive is part of immortality.
Speak for yourself. Oh, you want to get into immortality now.
As human beings, we're the only creatures that know we're going to die. And we all try to leave our mark, whether it's tagging or by having children or by creating art or music.
Do you seek immortality through your art, Leslie?
No, actually, I don't think I do. What I really seek is, it's like a Harry Potter term, obliviate. Like, I want to disappear into my work. I don't want to think about me anymore.
But so you want your work to be...
Well, when you make works on paper, do you think that is there a lifespan for that paper?
It's archival. I do have at least that much responsibility.
What are we looking at here?
It's a bird.
No, it's not. This is crazy. Okay, so a lot of gamers know this image.
A gamer?
Gamers, gamers.
What's a gamer?
Who play games.
Who play video games.
I dated a few gamers, but they're playing games. She's playing games.
Well, you were a player.
Hey.
Well, I didn't know this when I drew it. I drew it because I was doing research on medieval times, and this is called a plague mask, and this is what...
Oh, right.
Yeah, this is what doctors used to wear when they would go and visit people who were dying of the bubonic plague. So there was potpourri in the beak, and then the goggles and the face mask protect you, and I don't know, the hat.
And there was usually a long bag.
And what's this?
This is my unicorn sculpture.
I do see the medieval influence. Definitely.
A serious art show.
And what
would have a serious art show would have a no unicorn policy. What happened?
Oh man, they're coming back.
We're not a serious art show. That's what it is.
Thank you. Hey, nice save. So what inspired you, a woman, to make a unicorn?
Well, there's the whole penis thing,
Okay, but what I want to know what you were doing, looking at medieval stuff, and what you learned from it, and how it applies to your work now.
Well, okay, I started looking at medieval art because I was interested in the tapestries, the unicorn tapestries that are in the cloisters in New York. And I love this idea. I mean, it's just, there's so much metaphor there, and I've always been interested. When I was a kid, I was drawing unicorns. It was always a thing for me, personally. Right. So, now I just did my homework on it. But it was interesting to me to learn that metaphorically, the unicorn actually represents the lover. The physical manifestation of the lover, and the soldiers who pursue it and stab it, they represent love, like the concept of love. So it's love chasing the lover through the forest and catching it and killing it.
Well, what percentage, when you're making an artwork, I mean, obviously you have craft and technique that you've mastered. I think you're one of the great draftsmen out there, draftswomen, draftsperson,
draftsy,
gender-neutral pronoun.
I like draftwoman.
Draftwoman.
Yeah,
exactly. Like a superhero.
So I mean, you certainly have an amazing drafting ability. Few artists will ever know. But what inspires you, like when you have like an idea to make an artwork? Do you ever have an idea and then you just don't make an artwork about it? I mean, or do you really follow through? I mean, what's your conceptual process here?
Yeah, no, I have ideas that I don't make work about constantly, like daily. I know it sounds kind of weird to say that since you're looking at a googly-eyed buck-toothed unicorn, but I'm pretty literal. And so everything that I make, it's just based on like thoughts I have, experiences I have, ideas, and then a lot of it is informed by literature. I love reading and movies.
Now, are you worried if the audience doesn't get what you mean, or that you just want them to enjoy the art as they enjoy it?
I'm not worried about that, because I do know it's like a M. Night Shyamalan thing where he thinks he's being obvious, but nobody knows that the guy's dead until the end of the movie. Like, that's how I feel. I feel like, well, this is so obvious. But
you just ruined the movie for me.
But do you keep a journal or sketchbooks or anything like that?
I'm terrible at both of those things.
No, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't. Like, every once in a while, if I have an idea that I'm not ready to work through, I just want to sit with it, I'll just do like a very basic line drawing and just put it away. And I have tons of those, but I wouldn't really call them sketchbooks.
But I think what separates you relative to other artists is the fact that you have interesting ideas, you have some concepts. The fact that you're not browbeating everybody with the concepts is wonderful. But the fact is, they're well rendered, they're well made, you're making some interesting art. It's very unique. I mean, you've carved that niche where the interesting idea has the amazing manifestation. And I'm a fan.
Thanks.
So where have you shown around? I mean, I've curated you into shows a couple of times. Where else have you been exhibiting?
Well, yeah, here in LA, you're pretty much my hero. I've mostly shown with you, yeah. And in New York, I worked with a couple galleries, one called Cinders and the other called Wayfarers, and they're both Brooklyn galleries.
Is it now you've been there enough to speak? Is the Brooklyn art scene is almost separate from the Manhattan art scene, right?
I can only speak to about 2006, which is when I left. but at that time, it very much was separate. I think now it's not so much.
A little more integrated?
Yeah, that's what I believe.
You know, all the galleries are, in New York, all the galleries are moving from Chelsea now. Slowly, they're making the thing to the Lower East Side. And the Lower East Side is now the gallery place.
I didn't know that. I knew that there was a lot of galleries popping up in Williamsburg and Brooklyn in general, and
yeah. And how long were you in New York total?
6 years or a lifetime. It was only 6 years, but they were good years. I love New York. I miss it very much.
What drew you to the West Coast?
Well, I love New York, but New York just beat me down. I couldn't make enough money. My apartments were getting systematically shittier and shittier, and it was grim.
That happens in LA too.
It does.
Don't get any notions there, Mr. Joe, artist watching from Cleveland. It's just as lousy here.
Yeah, I mean, you can rent an Airstream trailer in Echo Park for $1,100 a month. That's tragic. But in New York, they're renting an apartment where Basquiat tagged one wall about this, almost $30,000 a month. Granted, it's 4,000 square feet, but still.
I read that they were Airbnb-ing a dumpster, a renovated dumpster, for $1,100 a month.
In New York.
In New York.
Yeah, and LA is still better. You get an Airstream for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about living in a dumpster. Okay.
I feel like I did a few times when I lived in New York.
Well, we're glad to have you here. How do you choose your female subjects? Is it their lines?
A lot of times I get friends to pose for me.
But like with Courtney Love, Betty Page, did you decide to do iconic women, or
women who have? Well, I would say women who mean something to me, but I don't actually have much of a connection to Courtney Love. I just thought she was a fascinating train wreck, and I had to.
I remember that picture really well. It was like the face of celebrity.
Yeah, and I didn't want it. I really didn't want to be.
It wasn't a mean picture.
Well, that's what I didn't want it to be mean.
It was not mean. It was actually kind of heart-wrenching and poignant, and you just wanted to go, come stay on my couch, take a shower, here's some
have a
food.
meal.
Well, I remember in Miami, and you were working the booth too. It was like people would come in and go, "Is that Courtney Love?" And it was a nice abstraction. So, I think that for me, the excitement has always been that you are an artist who's I go to your studio, and the next time I go, it's something new. So last time I went, I was thinking, oh, more drawings, more drawings is going to be more celebrity drawings. And instead, you had these new masks, and we're talking about doing a show about a year from now or so, right?
Yes.
And it's going to take you a while to make these masks, and so you'll be locked in the studio for quite a while, won't you? This may be the only time we all see you, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and the mask came from being literal. Like I like to draw what I see. I'm not good at drawing straight from my imagination, and I didn't want to get into that horrible like Richard Prince thing where you're drawing something that someone's already photographed, or that I'm not interested in that. So I started making the masks. Oh, hello. There they are.
Wow, and are those paper mache balloons?
They're paper mache, yeah, and clay, and then gesso.
Yep.
But I started making them so that I could photograph them and then draw them, and that was my way of making it 100% my own.
But then it turned out the mask was as interesting or more than a drawing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's what's coming up in the future. And, well, hey, thanks for being our guest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a blast having you. And, do you have a website?
I do, LeslieLanxinger.com.
.com. There it is, spelled for you. Just instead of .artist, put .com.
That's it.
So, well, thanks for joining us.
Thank
you. We have lovely parting gifts for you.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to Chinese food later. So.
Good to see you. Thank you.
So, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so there she goes, off into the street.
Wait, and I think
but now it's time for our commercial with Intern Rebekah.
That was really good.
Rebekah?
Thank you.
No, you didn't say.
Yay! How you doing?
Say, good, how are you?
And so, what's your favorite David Bowie? Do you even know who David Bowie was? You do? Talk to the
because she
microphone.
has cool. You have cool parents,
I do have cool parents.
so you know who David Bowie is.
Yes.
And what's your favorite David Bowie song?
I'm busted!
Probably China Girl.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's a
For,
good one.
Yeah.
I like singing it.
for someone from your generation, what's the name of your generation again? Millennials?
Millennials.
You don't even know? Okay, well,
Yeah.
for a millennial, we'll take China Girl.
Yeah,
that's
that
pretty
was
good.
an MTV hit.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're going to do a commercial now. Rebekah, Intern Rebekah.
Speak up.
Ling's Market has been furnishing beer and wine to Chinatown since 1974. We have a fine selection of beers and 3 varieties of wine: red, white, and rosé. Our beer and wine are delicious, or Mr. Ling is not happy. Once you buy beer and wine from Mr. Ling's, you will laugh at the people who shop at Trader Joe's with the confidence of a true elitist.
Wow.
Please enjoy our fine beverages. I can never say that right. Responsibly.
That says a lot. That's very Freudian.
You don't want to anger Mr. Ling. Ling is at 974 Chungking Road in Chinatown. And we have water in a glass bottle, too.
Woo! All right.
Fancy water.
And you'll
My
look
favorite,
cool
and it's
drinking it.
Aqua di Toscana from San Felice. And I'm going to have me some.
It's Italian. It's fancy Italian water.
It's fancy. You know what? It tastes just the same as the water from your tap, but you can give me money, Mr. Ling money for it, and we'll go from there.
It is the most rockin' bottle around because it's glass.
Yeah.
That's really
Looks like vodka, so you look super cool.
I'll put vodka in the water. Okay, so, well, thank you, Intern Rebekah.
Thank you. Are you shaking
High
my
five,
hand?
high five. Woo! All right. Our next guest today on Modern Art Blitz is an artist who has been around forever. And I first saw this guy, I think in the 80s, but we're going to find out. We're going to have a deep, detailed discussion with the one and only Anthony Ausgang.
the coolest cat in town.
Have you lived in Los Angeles?
I moved to Los Angeles in 1980.
1980?
That's correct.
Wow.
And you
Yeah.
went to Otis Parsons.
I went to Otis
That's the
Parsons for
first time
3
I saw you.
semesters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you think of Otis Parsons and the 3 semesters you spent there?
Well, it was sort of in a post-punk stage, so the teachers were feisty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were you there the day Man Ray visited campus and sat in a chair and had all these gorgeous girls around him?
No.
Oh, damn.
He's not that old.
No. I saw it happen.
So you're that old.
Yes.
Oh, you set yourself up for that one. Okay,
Yes.
so you've been here since 1980. That's 30. You're in your 36th year as an Angelino. Now, do you consider yourself an Angelino?
Yes, at this point, but not a Californian.
Not a Californian.
Yeah.
What are you then? What state are you?
State of Hollywood, man.
Well, so less California, more Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So what are we looking at here? Is this you painted a car, or
Yes.
is this an actual artwork as a car?
That was a car, a 1936 Plymouth that I got it from a junkyard, and I painted to look sort of like a World War II bomber or fighter airplane.
With one of your cats on it.
With the cats on it. I made sure
Always.
that the most intricate and difficult part was on the car door, which I could sell and somebody could put on their wall.
Oh, so you could actually just take the car door off and
So smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So why
smart.
do you paint cats?
Everyone asks me that. You know, I don't have a proper answer, except I did go to a therapist, and he said, for all the cats in your life that you've seen die, you're giving them a new life.
That's good.
That must
But
be a lot of dead cats.
There's a lot of money someone was spending to get that.
Yeah, but for me, your cats are able to do things that humans can't, and you develop these really good gender lines. There's tomcats, and then there's the pussy.
Right.
Yeah, and these cats can do amazing things, like the Tex Avery wolf eyes, wah wah, and they like can twist themselves around. And your work has gotten more psychedelic and and stretchy and weird. You were doing those round canvases,
Right.
and then you've been kind of morphing them more and more.
That's right. Yeah, I feel like I've been working with literal imagery for so long. I really feel like doing things that are a little bit more twisted and abstract. The lowbrow pop surrealist art movement is narrative and image based, and I've been doing it for so long that I've kind of gotten fed up with it, and I'm more interested in psychedelicizing things.
You're bored with lowbrow.
Yeah. Is that on tape now?
Live at 5!
I'm bored with lowbrow.
So you've now joined the majority of the art world.
Well, and there's something to be, it's become like, if you can draw this sad-eyed bunny, you too can go to art school, like those old matchbooks.
Is that where you're at with lowbrow?
Well, I think lowbrow is essentially defunct, man. I mean, as far as it's an influential art movement, I think it's run its course. Yeah.
Really?
I think for me, the most interesting things that are going on are like psychedelic art and psych art.
Yeah.
I think lowbrow was an animal of its times, and hey, man,
And it was
it's
necessary.
post-millennium.
Yeah.
Do you think you need to drop acid to actually do psychedelic art or enjoy psychedelic art?
I love that eye in the middle of your forehead, man.
You're also, like, your hard line.
Let me put it this way, it helps, I suppose, but you can look at a white canvas or a Saul LeWitt, did we mention him earlier? And it'll look really good if you're tripping.
Saul LeWitt, I could see the trip
But
there.
I mean, look at your fine line work, and your colors are so amazing. You worked in a color house for a while, didn't you?
I worked as a textile painter. And they would give us color chips in the morning, like 20 of them, and say, hey, match these colors. And that was my job, was to match any color that I was given.
So you're just able to, you have an innate relationship with color, and because your colors are so amazing, like the shading on that tongue, the shading on the green that's coming out from behind your back over here somewhere. It's just freaking amazing.
Where did you learn to use such amazing colors, or is that part of your natural amazing sense of self as an amazing artist?
I got lost in a maze and found my way out, and it was like a Technicolor universe. No, when I was doing the color mixing for the fabric company, I had all different kinds of paint at my disposal. I could use as much as I wanted, and if the color didn't pan out, I could just,
Take it home?
No, I could pour it down the drain and start again. So I got to figure out all the different ways I could manipulate colors in ways that I couldn't have done if I was paying for the paint.
Right.
Because sometimes it'll look really great, and then you add a little bit more of that quinacridone magenta, and it turns to mud.
Oh, here's a big cat now. Now you did an album cover. Explain the album cover. Is this it?
This is this is probably my most recognized piece of art, which was the album cover for MGMT release. Congratulations.
The band is called MGMT.
Yeah.
And they're a big band.
They're huge.
Which I've never heard of.
They're kind of
I'm sorry I'm not
electronic
hip.
dance music-ish.
Yeah, they're often classified as EDM, but they're also, when I got to know the band members very well, and they said, we're just trying to bring psychedelic music to the common man, essentially.
Oh, so you like electronic music being the new psychedelic music?
Yeah, I mean, when people talk about neo-psychedelia, it really has nothing to do with the old school, like, you know,
the
Blue Cheers.
Iron Butterfly. Or what?
No, Iron Butterfly.
Blue Cheer.
Oh, man. Blue Cheer.
Or
Blue
Blue
Cheer.
Cheer.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
things. Yeah.
I'm having a bad flashback. Okay.
You ever have a good one? I'm having a good flashback.
So you're, as a contemporary psychedelic artist, and this is MGMT again, right?
MGMT.
So you're actually lined up. Your art and their music are kind of the same wavelength.
Yes, I think that's why this cover was actually so successful, and because we were on the same wavelength. And the reason that they employed me to do the cover is because we were basically on the same mental wavelength.
Now, I got to ask you about your suit. Do you wear this suit out to the grocery store?
Not anymore.
And did you make this? Did you design the fabric yourself, or did you find it?
No, I just got the suit, and then I dunked it in a bucket of water, let it dry out a little bit, and then splattered it with paint.
Wow.
And
It's
I did
beautiful.
This,
How many years ago did you do this?
I did this for something I went to Mark Ryden's Surrealist Ball that he had in November,
okay,
I think.
okay.
Right.
So what have you been working on lately? Any new projects?
Well, I was asked to design labels for packaging for medical marijuana.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
Wow.
So
How freaking
wait,
cool is that?
explain that.
Well, they basically want to get, I talked to the people about it. They said, look, man, we got to get away from this Bob Marley shit. You know, everything's Bob Marley. It's all Rasta and, you know, or unicorns. Sorry about the unicorns. You know, unicorns and Rastas and setting suns. And they wanted to get something else.
And so, do they give you the name of the strain of marijuana, and you design the label based on the strain?
That's the idea.
So,
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
think there's like blue bubblegum surprise.
What were some of the ones that you've designed? Where is this medical marijuana dispensary that you're working for?
It was in Oregon.
It's in Oregon.
It's in Oregon.
And because it's legal in Oregon now.
As far as I know, yeah, I didn't research. I figured if they were calling me, it was either on the cusp of becoming legal or it already was.
So Oregon's going to go. Colorado's already gone. I think, is it Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
Medical marijuana,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
is pretty much legalized.
So you're doing this work now. You're going to have a series of medical marijuana packaging.
Well, that was the idea until.
What happened?
Well, first of all, I decided that in the grand tradition of products, I wanted to make these labels look like old classic California fruit crate art labels with beautiful backgrounds of valleys and vistas and things like that. And I was all set to go. They liked them, and the lawyer got involved and said that it was going to appeal to children because there were cartoon characters just like the MGMT cover. Just like the Joe Camel we're talking about with the
You got Joe Camel.
And Bob Marley is it instantly repels children.
Well, and some adults.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'm not a fan of the reggae, so. Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, I'm not fun. No, but
You're in trouble now.
yeah. So, do you have these designs? Are you going to show them or print them on T-shirts or something?
I don't know what exactly I'm going to do with them. Perhaps Matt and I can work something out as an exhibition of them.
That would be great.
I think it'd be interesting to show them, and there's a good story behind it too. I'm actually not out of the running, they said, but they were pretty.
They were
convinced.
because your art appeals to children. You can't use it for packaging for something that is not for sale for children. Right?
Yes, essentially. Yeah. Well put.
So what else are you working on that you can put out in the world? Any more album covers?
When I did that album cover, I realized that my art that particular piece of art got seen by more people than all my other work combined.
How many albums of this?
Does this
sold?
band have? Oh, this sold?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. It didn't. I think it went gold.
Like 10,000? Oh no, really? Oh, it's like this is like major popular.
Oh no,
stuff.
they're major. Yeah, they
Right.
had 2 era-defining hits called "Kids" and "Time to Pretend." I don't know if you're familiar with these songs.
And
If it wasn't recorded before 1994, I don't know what it is.
And they
I
were
don't think
wheat pasted. I saw your posters wheat pasted up along Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, it was really interesting for me to see my image repeated and put on billboards and then. But the most interesting thing was I went and saw the band several times on their tour, and they were very good with their fans.
Mm-hmm.
They would wait for their fans, and until they got a good crowd. They'd be looking out the window. Oh yeah, there's not enough yet. We'll go out in a minute, and then they'd go out.
Wow.
And talk to them. And I asked a lot of, because I would hang out with them and say, well, what do you kids think about this? And most of them only knew the image as an icon on their iPhone. As a 1-inch square.
Oh, they
image.
didn't have the square, like they didn't hold on to the album in the record store.
They made that as
or
a
the
12-inch
CD.
LP, but they did. But for most people, it's just an icon that comes up on the iTunes on
iTunes,
your
yeah.
Oh, wow,
radio.
okay.
So, and I thought, well, okay, so now when an artist does an album cover, they have to consider that will it work when it's teeny tiny,
Ah, okay.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
which is a kind of weird thing.
Thank
Okay.
you for that.
If they notice it at all, the kids.
Wow. So you've shown in LA and around the world, many times. Where's the weirdest place you've ever shown?
Nashville.
Really?
Really?
Why?
What's so weird about Nashville?
All right, so I was asked to be in this art show, and the dealer was really cool. He had a beautiful space, and nothing sold, right? So after the opening, the wife comes up to me and she says, I really need to talk to you. Can we go in the back room, please? I have to talk to you. I said, sure, it's great, let's go. So I go in the back room with this lady, and she says, do you know the story about my husband at all?
Oh boy,
And I said, I don't
What was
know.
what was the story?
I don't know. And she said, well, he was injured in a severe accident, and he was in a coma for 2 months. And when he came out of it, God had told him to open an art gallery. and my husband knows absolutely nothing about selling art. So here's the kicker. She said to me, will you please tell him to stop?
What?
And I go, well, you're like telling me to kill my cash cow, man. That's insane. So I refused to do that.
And you haven't shown there since.
No.
So what is the Nashville art scene like, or what was it like then? A lot of people showed up at the opening?
Yeah, a lot of students showed up at the opening.
Okay.
And there was a celebrity whose name escapes me, but on his business card, it had in big letters, it said, formerly famous.
Like a guy with a one-hit wonder single?
Yeah, it
Wow.
was, yeah.
And you've shown in New York?
Yeah.
And
Where in
Milan.
New York?
I showed at the Best Cutler Gallery.
Oh my
which
God.
was on West Broadway.
That
So
might be the weirdest fate ever suffered by a gallery. Right?
I felt great, man. I had a gallery on West Broadway in New York. Everything sold. It was a good time.
You heard what happened to Herb and Best, right?
Yeah.
It was not. Google Herb and Best Cutler. Sad ending. So, and where have you shown in Los Angeles?
At this point, right now, I'm showing at the Copro Gallery, which is in Bergamot Station. But I used to show at the storied and
Notorious.
notorious 01
Oh,
Gallery.
wow. Okay. Well, if anybody who's shown at 01 Gallery cannot leave my show, Modern Art Blitz, without giving us a really good John Pokna story. John Pokna was the legendary owner of 01 Gallery, and this guy was, he's one of the few people I've ever met who's impossible to exaggerate. No matter how somebody tells you about John Pokna, they're actually underselling it because he was that just bigger than life.
So
What
tell
is
us
your
about
story?
the 01 for people who may not.
01 was a legendary gallery. Tell us your best John Pokna story.
My best John Pokna story. Wow, that's the tough. There are some really good ones. Well, probably the one I can think of right at the moment was John called me up and said, the curator's coming from the Smithsonian. You got to get down here right now. I check it. Come to think of it, John might watch this, right? Come on down here. The curator from the Smithsonian is going to show up. So he told that to a number of artists. So we all stood around waiting for this curator from the Smithsonian to show up. So finally this guy shows up, and we all go in the back, and we're standing around talking, making small talk, and shuffling our feet and looking at each other. And suddenly we hear that upstairs, I hear this toilet flush, you know, in the apartment upstairs. And about 30 seconds later, this stream of human shit starts pouring out of this very well-worn hole in the ceiling. Right? And swear to God, I'm not making it up, it landed right on the curator's shoe. This big glob of shit. And so he just turned around, without a word, he turned around and he walked out, and John was after him. Hey! Hey, come on back. I'm sorry.
So suffice to say, you did not get a show at the Smithsonian.
Nobody got a show in the old agricultural equipment wing of the Smithsonian.
So how was showing at 01 other than the shitstorm?
It was great. I really enjoyed it. I mean, John could have been a real contender if he hadn't fucked up. He had a lot of really great artists, and if he hadn't stolen from every one of them, he would really be a force to be reckoned with in the art world. It's a real shame. I got to meet a lot of people. The Hollywood scene was still, you know, the...
Now, Lisa, you know, tell us about the little history of the 01. Do you know?
The 01 was an after-hours club, and it was... originally he issued membership cards, but they really didn't stand. Il Duce from the Mentors was...
Well, do you know who the backer was?
No.
Oh, I thought you knew. I thought you were leading in.
No,
I thought you really... Well, basically, John had a way about him that he could talk people into anything, and he talked David Lee Roth into backing an art gallery, and that was the 01.
Wow.
And so you were there. Were you there at the beginning?
I went to the 01 pretty much right after I moved to LA in the 80s, in 1980. I didn't start showing there until later.
And did you ever meet David Lee Roth?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, was he always there partying with Top Jimmy?
He would party. Yeah, he was interesting. And actually, I ended up doing a T-shirt design for David Lee Roth.
Really? He had a solo tour?
Yeah, he had a tour, and I had to meet his people in a strip bar at 3 in the afternoon. And let me tell you, at 3 in the afternoon, the strippers are not good looking.
Now wait, do they get better looking at night, or is the 3 p.m. shift just
it's
the bottom
the
of the
bow wows? It's the bow wows.
Is that which in your opinion is it?
I wouldn't know, Phil.
Okay.
But so yeah, anyway, I designed a T-shirt for David Lee Roth, and it was a very short tour because he knocked himself out with a lightsaber. And
with a lightsaber?
In the middle of one of his shows. And,
and had to cancel the tour?
The tour was canceled.
So did the T-shirts not get sold?
All I know is every 2 or 3 years I got some email from somebody who went to the show and they don't have a shirt and they want one. And so everybody expects me to have tons of this product.
They think you have, okay. So.
But do you have the image? What was it?
It was a completely inappropriate image. It was funny, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that then.
Yeah. But here, I'd like to point out, this is basically the direction I'm heading in, which is more utterly, completely...
wow.
No cats, just psychedelic bending patterns.
Wow.
I mean, that's beautiful.
So have you ever seen the art of Bridget Riley? She's probably the progenitor of this kind of psychedelic art. Yeah. Does this hurt your eyes when you're standing in front of it?
It can.
It can?
Yes. Other ones that I've done really do vibrate. This one isn't quite as optical as they can get.
But it's very 3D. And how long did that take you to paint, and how big is it?
It's not painting. It's strictly digital.
Strictly digital.
It's a complete digital file.
And then do you just sell the digital file?
No, actually, I've just done these, so I am trying to figure out a way to market them. What I've been doing at this point is printing them out at 24 inches square, mounting them on 3/4-inch plywood, and putting them in the green room of different clubs. So they can get totally trashed. They're indestructible. I don't care what happens to them. But as a result, I've gotten more album cover art. I'm doing posters now for the shows at the Echo.
Right.
And in a way, for me, it feels kind of good to be making art that has a distinct purpose, not just to satisfy me. But I'm getting information across. People are going to go to these shows because they saw the poster. They're going to buy the poster. And That's one of my complaints about the art world. It's like we're making this stuff, it's almost superfluous. How does this shit interface with the real world?
Well, think about all those Grateful Dead posters that were so collectible. Like, they're collectible now.
She mentioned the Grateful Dead on my show.
That's, you know, we're talking about, but in those days, that was like the heavy psychedelic art. And those are incredibly valuable.
On that note, our time is winding down.
Oh, dear.
So, thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Thank you.
It was a blast. You're one of my favorites.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Anthony.
it. Can I get my website info?
What's your website info?
Ausgangart.com.
AUSGANGART.com. There it is. Thank you very much, Anthony Ausgang. Thanks to our other guests, Leslie Lanxinger, and of course, intern Rebekah, my co-host, the amazing Lisa Derrick. And my name's Mat Gleason, and this was Modern Art Blitz.
Yay.
We're every Sunday live at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
And later archived.
Oh yeah, you'll find this thing.
Archived
I'm sure you're watching on YouTube. Where's the parrot?
Oh, the parrot.